So let's get started. So this is the computer science webinar hosted by Big Brain Tutoring. So yeah, so these are our presenters. I'm Satvik Billa.
I'm Momontori.
I'm Erin Shu.
I'm Savik Desari.
So we'll go ahead and start with the presentation. So first we'll talk about courses and clubs at Westwood that you can take. Okay, so for elective courses, these are pertaining to computer science. So first of all, in freshman year, you can start off by taking either Computer Science 1 or AP Computer Science Principles. Computer Science 1 pertains more to coding languages and learning more basically coding. And then AP Computer Science Principles kind of covers both computer engineering and computer science. You do cover some Scratch and Python, and you learn some computer engineering regarding the basics of like the internet and the insides of a computer. In freshman year, you can go off to AP Comp Sci A, where you start learning Java. And then Computer Science 3, I'll get into the namings. Computer Science 3 and then IB Computer Science HL deal more with coding and theory. Just as a quick note, Computer Science 1 or AP Computer Science Principles are not prerequisites to do AP Comp Sci A. So you can start off here if you want in your sophomore year. So next we'll go on to AP v IB.
Yeah, so for AP classes, usually they're one-year courses, and everyone around the country pretty much has the same curriculum, so it's standardized. In AP, it's a bit different where we have more labs over the entire year. And then at the end of the year, or at the beginning of the year, you choose whether you want to take the AP test. And at the end, you take it, and I think if you get above if you get a 3 or above, you get the college credit for it. And yeah, you can take the AP test after you finish the course.
So another program offered at Westwood is the IB program, which stands for International Baccalaureate. So I think this is a really good option, especially if you're considering studying abroad. And so the IB program itself is actually from junior year to senior year, so the last 2 years of high school. And so with the IB program, IB students are generally, you take specific IB classes, so you're generally in classes with other IB students, so you're separate from the AP students for the most part. And then IB has one-year courses or two-year courses. So courses that you take for only 1 year, either your junior year or senior year, are called standard level courses. And then if you decide to take a class and a subject for both years, those are called higher level courses. So only the higher level tests count for college credit, but IB students can also take AP exams to get college credit. They would just have to do some extra studying outside of school, since the IB classes are more centered around the IB exams. And then IB has a bit more writing than AP. So for each class, students write an internal assessment, which is like a paper that reflects what you've learned for the past year. And then they also write an extended essay, which is an academic research paper their senior year.
Okay, cool. So next we'll move on to AP v IB courses. Kathleen, are you there yet?
Yeah, okay. So for our AP versus IB courses, these are some STEM courses. When we say STEM, we mean science, technology, engineering, and math, that can help you with computer science. So on the left side, we have all of our AP courses, which are AP Physics 1, AP Physics 2, AP Physics C, AP Calculus AB, AP Calculus BC, and AP Statistics. With our top three, we have our physics courses, and our bottom three are AP math courses. And then on the right side, we have our two IB physics courses, which is IB Physics SL, which is the 1-year physics course. And then if you decide to do another year of physics in IB, you'll take IB Physics HL after that. And you must have taken the SL course before you take the HL course. For IB analysis and approaches and IB applications and interpretations, those combine elements of both statistics and calculus, whereas on the AP side, it's more strictly calculus or strictly statistics. With IB analysis and approaches and IB applications and interpretations, if you would like to, you can take the corresponding like AP courses for them, but there will be some self-studying required.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to clubs.
Okay, so our first club that we're going to talk about is Comp Sci UIL, or Computer Science UIL. Essentially, there are weekly practices every Friday during Flex, which is essentially like advisory in middle school. Yeah, so we have practices then, and during those practices, we do practice UIL tests, and sometimes we will have practice coding challenges. So in Comp Sci UIL, there are two sections. There's the multiple choice section, and then there's another section where you answer, or there are programming problems where there are 12 programming problems, and you have to finish them in like 2 hours. And we have district competitions near the end of the year, but we also have other competitions, like smaller competitions throughout the entire year. And yeah, anyone can participate in it. That's it.
Then we have robotics. Westwood's Robotics is one of the largest STEM organizations we have. So they have pretty regular meetings once, twice, and even as they get closer to a competition, 3 times a week. And essentially they're building robots for a different challenge every season. I know a recent season was that they were building robots that could play basketball, and then they had them go head to head, and the robots that did the best won the competition essentially. So it's a good use of the STEM skills you can pick up elsewhere, and it's a really good competition to develop not only the programming side, but also the engineering side of STEM.
And then after that, we have our Artificial Intelligence Club, which is one of the newer STEM clubs at Westwood. And in this AI club, basically the members go on outreaches to elementary schools and teach them about artificial intelligence algorithms using Python. You'll learn concepts like machine learning, linear regression, logistic regression, and neutral networks.
So Code Girls is another club offered at Westwood, and it's centered on computer science and supporting women in STEM. So it provides a really welcoming environment to anyone who's interested in promoting girls in STEM and any girls who are interested in exploring computer science topics. So in the club, in the weekly meetings, you will learn about the fundamental principles behind computer science, as well as programming languages like Java and HTML.
Okay, thank you. And now we'll move on to extracurricular opportunities. So we'll first start off with summer programs. So 2 summer programs are talked about here. The first one is UT High School Research Academy, or HSRA as we call it. It's divided into 10 plus research groups. So based on your interest specifically in STEM, whether it's comp sci or like biological research with AI or something like that. It's you're split into a research group. And you are given direct involvement in current UT research projects. So you work with professors who teach at this HSRA program. There's also many seminars, guest speaker series, and you also get to visit research facilities while at this program. And like I said before, it's an introductory research. You can earn college credit from attending here. And this is a website that you can find it at. If you'd like to take a screenshot of it or so while I'm talking about the next one, you can. So the next one is called Program of Algorithmic and Combinatorial Thinking, or PACT. It's not a very common one, but it is listed on one of the. It's really helpful for understanding the mathematical foundations of computer science, right? It's a 5-week program at Princeton. It's not hosted by Princeton, but it is taught there. The professor is of UPenn. Is a comp sci teacher at UPenn. Here you basically explore the mathematical fundamentals by exploring different concepts in discrete mathematics and advanced statistics. And you have different guest speakers, either PACT alumni, who have graduated to some of the best colleges in the country, or you have other renowned professors who teach. And this is also the URL of the program that you can find it at. So now we'll move on to competitions.
So there are a bunch of different coding competitions. UCICO, or USA Computing Olympiad, is probably the most recognized one, both in like the college admissions community and just in high schoolers as general. So there are 4 competition levels: bronze, silver, gold, or platinum. So you have 3 to 4 hours to solve 3 problems, and those 3 problems are different for every level you're at. You can use any of the 5 languages over there, and it's very, very algorithmic thinking. So you're thinking about creating programs that can run through and solve problems that maybe would take a human days to do. And as you do better on each level, you move up to the next level. And finalists at the platinum level will get to go to a training camp. And I believe it's the top 30 finalists, where they can compete and learn at a higher level. Another lesser known competition, but still very recognized, is the American Computer Science League. So every season has 4 of these, and in these competitions, you have a short answer test and a programming problem. And if you do really well there, you can move on to the All-Star contest. And it's a very good opportunity to use your programming knowledge.
Thank you. Competitions part 2.
So science fair is one of probably the biggest competitions. Essentially, for science fair, you submit a project that you did independently or one that you did at a university, for example. And in science fair, there are actually a lot of different categories. So it goes from like a biology category to an embedded systems or hardware category. So it's so there are 3 different levels. There's the regional level, then it goes to the state level, and then the international competition, which is called ISEF. Actually, they might have changed the name this year, but yeah. So the regional competitions usually in February, the state competitions in March, yeah, and the international ones during summer. And it's colleges. So it's a really good way to show colleges that you're interested in computer science or whatever category that you choose.
Okay, and then moving on to the American Math Contest, or the AMC. So just like USICO is one of the most recognized comp sci competitions, the AMC is the most recognized math contest. And so there are 3 different levels: the 8, 10, and 12. And those levels are about what grade you're in. So the AMC 8 is for 8th grade and below, 10 is for 10th grade and below, and 12 is for 12th grade and below. So all 3 of them are 25 questions, multiple choice. If you do well on the 10 and the 12, you're invited to take the AIME, which is the American Invitational Math Exam. It's a 15-question short answer test with 3 hours. And after that, depending on how you do on the AIME and a couple of other exams, you can be invited to MOP, which is a very prestigious summer program, kind of like training camp, but for the math version.
Okay.
So here are a couple more math contests that are pretty well known. Math Counts, of course, is the most well known for middle schoolers. There's also Math League. They have elementary up to high school, but generally where Math League focuses is at the elementary level. Same with Math Kangaroo and North South Foundation. I believe they range from elementary to middle school. Then higher level, these are about high school math contests. HMMT, it's a tournament held at Harvard and MIT campuses every year. KUMAC is one held at Princeton. ARML is another very prestigious competition where you gather a group of people around your area and you go compete there. And TAMU is Texas specific. It's a competition held at Texas A&M University, and they have their own high-level math contest.
Okay. So now we'll dive into volunteering. This might be a question on many of your guys' mind. So one thing about volunteering in STEM, right, whether you're doing it for the resume or you want to seriously help your society, it's always best to focus on STEM-based volunteer opportunities. This shows colleges that you're passionate about comp sci, and alongside that, you're also able to refine any comp sci skills you have, whether it's creating a web application to solve some problem, creating an algorithm, right? Whatever it is, you're volunteering, but you're also refining your comp sci skills. And one important thing is to stay committed by rising through the ranks, basically leadership positions, right? If you were to start a club in ninth grade, right, and it's a volunteering club, you want to show that you're committed to it and actually you work very hard in that club by rising through. So you become a member in freshman year, and you slowly become like maybe a junior leader in sophomore year, and you keep on rising to the ranks until you are the official leader of that club, or however the hierarchy may be structured, just to show that you rise through leadership positions is very important. And you know, the most important thing, right, is to help share your passion for computer science with others and help them foster their own interest, right? Alongside ourselves, when we help ourselves refine our own skills, right? And we're also helping others, helping them gain interest for computer science or any STEM related field. And that's also a really important thing to note. And you know, just some examples of places where you can volunteer are the Thinkery, Game World's Champ, Girl Star, YMCA, Austin Public Library, and Hour of Code. So yeah, internships.
So next we're gonna move on to talking about some internships. Usually there are many companies, especially in Austin, with Austin being a large technology hub. There are lots of companies here that will offer internships to high schoolers. These are some of the benefits of applying for internships. The first is that you can learn how computer science is used in professional industries, because obviously what you learn in school is just like the material, but to see it actually being applied in a professional setting in a company is a very valuable experience. And part of that valuable experience is being able to learn the skill of professionalism. This is not something that you can really learn in school. And an internship is really the best way to build that professionalism, which will help you in the future when you're doing things such as interviews for your first job, or even if your college, like your desired college, offers interviews. Then another thing is to just take advantage. Like I said, Austin is a technology hub. It has numerous tech companies, and really through internships you can take advantage of this and form connections with your future possible employers, or build lasting connections with people that can mentor you in the future. And some examples of companies in Austin that offer internships to teens every year, except for this one, are the City of Austin. The City of Austin has a program where it allows high schoolers to apply for internships, and they'll assign you to a company based on the field that you select. Then we have PayPal, AT&T, Samsung, which is for people 18 only, so seniors, National Instruments, and Applied Materials.
So these are some specific programs, some internship programs that you can apply to. So the first one is the STEM Enhancement in Earth Science Intern Program. So it's actually a program that is hosted by UT, and it's a 2-week program for rising seniors and juniors. And so through this program, students can work with engineers and actual Center of Space Research scientists, and they gain an authentic NASA experience, since the UT Center of Space Research partners with NASA for this intern program. And then it's for students who have interest in like any STEM area, not just earth science, because there are other like STEM aspects in this. For example, for computer science, students can use computer science to write programs that plot satellite data. And then the second internship program is Research in Science and Engineering Internship RISE, and it's a 6-week program at Boston University for rising seniors only. So through this program, students can conduct research in a variety of fields, and some of these fields are computer science and electrical and computer engineering, and then they work under the guidance of a faculty member or a graduate mentor.
Okay. And finally, our last slide for today will be about independent projects. So this kind of goes in part what I was saying about volunteering, right? But another great thing to put on your resume, just to distinguish yourself from other students and refine your coding skills, is independent projects. If you ever have an idea that you think you can act upon, you think you can make a difference by enforcing that idea, please, with all means, go ahead. There's many great resources out there like Udemy.com, Coursera, where you can take courses, any comp sci courses. Many of them are free. Sorry, many of them are of cost, but they're very cheap. I know Udemy has weekly promotions. But that being said, if success for your project can take you a long way. So if you ever have an idea, just start acting on it, planning it out, because this is a great way to also, become a better person on paper as well as, intellectually. So now we are done with our presentation, and we will now have a guest speaker discussion with Albert Chen from UC Berkeley. So yeah, thank you very much, first of all, to start off for joining us for this webinar. I know your time means a lot, so
No
thank you
problem.
for taking out some time. So yeah, the first question I'll ask you is, one second. So the first question I'll ask you is, what clubs and initiatives are you part of at Berkeley?
Sure. So at Berkeley, you guys might be a little bit surprised, but I'm actually not part of any STEM clubs. Personally, it's just something that I feel is not too beneficial for me, just because the culture of clubs sometimes doesn't fit with, what I feel comfortable with. But I am in a couple of other organizations on campus, mostly for fun. I'm in a dance group, I'm in an a cappella group, and I'm also part of the Asian American Association at Berkeley.
Okay, cool. So does Berkeley provide resources for finding internships?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest things that Berkeley offers, and I know a lot of colleges offer this, UT definitely has this too, which is career fairs. And basically career fairs are when different companies, such as like Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, Uber, NVIDIA, and just all the different companies around send recruiters to your school. And they will go there and give opportunities for students to interact with recruiters, get to know them, and hopefully form some connections so that you might be able to pull an internship at one of those companies.
Okay, cool. So what year are you expected to start looking for internships?
So a lot of people feel pressured to start looking for internships during their freshman year in college. And it's absolutely not a bad idea for people to get ahead on the game and try to secure an early internship. But the truth is that a lot of people don't end up doing internships during their freshman fall just because it's very competitive. And as freshmen, companies tend to look down on you a bit more because you haven't learned as much as any of your upperclassmen. But I think the most safe time that I would recommend people to actively start looking is definitely during your sophomore year. It's important to have some sort of working experience, I feel like, and it's also definitely a very big help on your resume to have some sort of internship with any kind of company. It doesn't have to be a huge company like Apple or Microsoft or something like that. But one thing I do want to stress is that even if you don't land an internship during your first couple of years, don't worry too much, because I personally know there's a lot of students that have graduated and they have gone through all of college without getting a single internship, and they are doing just fine in the career right now. So it is beneficial to have one, but it's not the end of the world if you don't land one.
Okay. So when you said sophomore year originally, do you mean during while college is running, or like after the summer, or?
Yeah. So basically, internship application season runs through the fall before the summer that you want to look for it. Or let me rephrase that. The summer that you want to work, you want to apply the fall before that. So I just finished my sophomore year at UC Berkeley. So I started applying last fall semester for my internships.
Okay, cool. So this is now more Westwood related, but how did Westwood prepare you for UC Berkeley?
So I'm sure a lot of people have heard that Westwood can be very stressful sometimes, and that the course load can be a bit much at times. While that is definitely not something I would willingly want to go through again, I think it does definitely help in terms of preparing you to handle stressful coursework in college. Because in college, you get less coursework than high school, I would say, but the coursework itself is definitely more intensive. So if you balance out like how intense it is versus how much work you have, I'd say that it's pretty similar to the amount that you'd get in high school.
Okay. So how important was time management to you in Westwood? Like, what strategies did you use to manage time and stay organized?
Okay, so in high school, I'll admit I was not the greatest at time management. And I had issues with getting things done and procrastinating a lot. And I know those are common things that students in high school often face. And like deciding, do I want to work on this or do I want to just push it for later? And it can become a big issue. But I think in in college, I started to utilize some tools I have around me. A lot of students in college decide to use like online calendars and things. And I know that people in Westwood have done that as well, and setting reminders, those kinds of things. I think those are definitely very important, and they can help you put yourself on track faster.
Okay. So what advice do you have for incoming freshmen?
So as you go through high school and college, there's a lot of pressure to perform, and a lot of times that can get inside your mind. And I just want to encourage people and let them know that, you know, high school is honestly a very small part of your life. Uh, Obviously, it feels very large and present when you're in high school. But after you graduate from high school, you know, you go through college, you start working. It's just a small segment of your life, just like middle school will be. Um, but it can also be really meaningful. And so I just want to say that you should focus on doing your best, but don't beat yourself down because of one bad grade or one bad test or something like that. Know that no matter where you end up, if you try your best and that you focus on improving yourself, you'll most likely end up doing just fine in the career world.
Okay, cool.
Oh, also one more thing I want to say.
Yeah.
Sorry. I think that one really important thing is that you should take care of yourself and study smart. These are things that I think Westwood students particularly undervalue, just because in my time at Westwood, I know that I personally did not take care of myself too well. I maybe got like 5 hours of sleep every night and stayed up very late doing work. And that honestly does take a huge toll on your mentality and your physical body as well. And so I think that if you take care of yourself, do what's best for you, you will definitely perform better than if you try to cram things the night before a test or something like that. So yeah, definitely take care of yourself.
I think so can you maybe expand a bit on studying smart? Like
Okay, sure. So studying smart for me, one interesting thing for me actually is, so during my first year at Berkeley, a lot of my friends and I studied very differently. And every time we would have a midterm coming up, midterms are worth a huge chunk of our grades. So there's immense pressure to study for them. But every time a midterm would come up, I always ended up studying the least out of all of my friends, but I ended up doing the best out of all of my friends. And I don't think it's because I was smarter than them, or it definitely wasn't because I did more work than them. And I think the most important thing that differentiated was how you study. I know that in high school, you guys will take a lot of courses. And one thing that I want to stress is understanding exactly what you're learning. A lot of people tend to just memorize things and try to make connections between two things, even though they don't understand exactly how they're connected. And one of the teachers in Westwood actually taught me how important this concept was. His name is Bill Blaine. I don't know if you guys will have him or not. He teaches economics, I think. But yeah, that's definitely a piece of advice that has really stuck with me during my time in college. So smart studying to me means to actually understand every component of what you're learning, and don't overwork yourself after you've figured out how things are. Don't cram if you think that it's going to do worse for your health. Basically just take care of yourself applied to studying.
okay. So one thing I wanted to ask was, you know, when people enter Westwood, there's many things that we're burdened with, right? Or not burdened, but like given to do, right? There's some things we have to worry a lot about, some things we don't have to worry about. So what are some of the things that, you know, when we're given them to do, like we don't have to worry about them that much?
I think one of the biggest things that Westwood students value is obviously rank, right? Rank, GPA, these types of things. And obviously it's easy for me as someone who's already gotten into college to say that, oh, you know, GPA really isn't like the biggest part of a college application or something like that. But I know it's very important when you're in Westwood, you feel super pressured to, you know, study as hard as you can for every single test, do the best that you can. And a lot of times people end up focusing on that too much that they really lose sight of, you know, what high school is actually supposed to be. And I think that you should definitely take time and do well in your classes, but don't overwork yourself. The same thing as I was saying before. GPA is definitely something that impacts your admission to college, but I think if you focus and make yourself a well-balanced person, having good amount of extracurriculars is absolutely something I think will make a huge difference in your college application, as well as, any kind of personal projects you have. Doing any of those will probably make, honestly, a bigger influence on your college admissions than maybe 1 point on your GPA.
Okay. So what do you not like about college when compared to Westwood?
This one is funny. So, to be completely honest, there is nothing I like more in Westwood than in college. Um, and the reason behind that is college is honestly a much more freeing experience than Westwood. Westwood definitely teaches you useful things, but I think that college is strictly a step up. And what I mean by that is you get a lot more activities available to you. You can do so much more with your life. You have more control over, what you want to do, what classes you want to take. And it's honestly a very, very nice experience for me. I obviously do miss friends that I've made in high school. But I think talking from a purely academic and learning standpoint, college is definitely much more fun to be in, I would say.
Okay. Yes. Speaking about your point on more control, right?
Mhm.
I know that you guys have more time in college because you have
Mhm.
less courses per day. So what do you do with all that free time that you never had in high school?
So a lot of it, everyone uses their free time differently, obviously. But I know there are plenty of people that join different organizations like me. I never did any kind of singing or dancing in high school. So I took some time in college and I decided, this is something I want to try, something that I think I would enjoy. And it's honestly very nice to have all these organizations around on campus. I know every college definitely has lots of different organizations that you can join in on. And it's very nice to have those resources available to you and to have the time to take advantage of them. So I think that, there are definitely people that will use all of their extra free time and study with that free time. And I think that if you feel like that is how you want to use your time, that's perfectly fine. But there's just so many more options that you have around you that, your free time can be put towards any kind of interest that you have, whether that's academic or for enjoyment.
Okay. And, this is more of a general question, but like, what is it like to be a comp sci major in college? Like, what do you like, not like about it?
So I think the biggest thing I do enjoy about comp sci in college is you do get to make a lot of really cool things. There's lots of projects that you work on in each class, and those projects, although it can be a bit painful when you're in the process of going through them and doing the projects, but it's very rewarding to kind of see all the things that you've learned be put into some kind of output that you can use, and you can look at that and be like, hey, I learned how to do that. That's honestly my favorite part of CS in college.
Okay, so those are the questions that I have. If you look in the chat, you can see
Sure.
um you can see some audience questions.
Mhm.
I think the first one is, were the SATs the hardest part for college?
Um, I don't think so. I know that a lot of people feel very stressed out about SATs. I know I was when I was in the process of studying for them. But the truth is, you can get a great score, but when you go to college and you look at all your peers around you, you realize that there are plenty of people around you who might not have done so well on the SAT, but they're just as smart or smarter, and they have so much passion for what they're doing. And I think that if you're able to express that inside your college app, SATs really aren't the most important things about the application process.
Okay. The next one is, how exactly do you get an internship?
Sure. So internships, a lot of companies have online postings. They can have them on LinkedIn, or they can have them on Google Careers if you just search up internships near me. And you can specify any specific type. So for CS majors, it would most likely be software internships near me. And there are plenty of opportunities online. But the thing I want to stress is that, particularly in high school, I felt that there's pressure to do internships in high school, but the truth is a lot of companies really don't consider high school students for internships. And I think the best thing, if you can't get, if you're not like the 1% that actually lands an internship in high school, the best thing you can do with your time is maybe do some personal projects or something like that.
Okay. The next one is, what kind of extracurriculars did you do during high school?
In high school, let's see. I was part of orchestra for all my 4 years. I did a lot of, I spent time in, let me see, I did DECA in high school for a couple of years. Let me actually pull something up, and because it's been a little bit of time since high school,
Yeah,
so
for sure,
I don't have everything memorized.
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't think I actually did too much. Oh, I did Chinese club. I was the president of the Chinese club at Westwood, if you guys know about it, for a year or so. And I think there really wasn't too much more that I spent a lot of time on. I'm sure I did some other things here and there, but I think the things that stood out the most to me from this standpoint is probably orchestra and Chinese club and some of the academic clubs around like DECA.
Okay. Next one is, what courses did you take at Berkeley?
Sure. So it's a little bit hard to say specifically just because there's a lot of content in every course. But I think the main courses that I think are most important that I took in freshman and sophomore year are data structures and computer architecture. Those are two courses that basically any CS curriculum in any kind of college would have. And those are two of the big classes that I would say are worth taking, and they prepare you the most for finding internships.
Okay, cool. So yeah, that was it. Sorry guys, there's more questions, but we can actually answer that during the next part, which is a Q&A session with the Westwood student panel. But anyways, thank you, Albert, so much for once again, coming here and answering our questions, telling us about
Right.
the career
No problem.
of computer science, So,
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
yeah, so yeah, that's all our questions. So now we will be answering high school related questions to for just for STEM related. So I believe some of the questions that you wanted to ask Albert, we can answer them we can answer them right now in the Q&A. So the first one is, when should you study for the SAT? I can answer this one. We prefer it's better if you take the SAT the beginning of junior year. So there's a test day in August, and that's when the school year starts. So it's like usually 80% of the people take their first SAT then. And what we do is we study the summer before. So like the summer following 10th grade, we study for that 2-3 months, and then we take our SAT that August. And if we don't do so well, then we take it again during the following test dates. But that's for another question. So let's look at the next questions here. Yeah, so if you guys have questions relating to Westwood and the presentation that we had, yeah, please ask them in the chat box. Okay, so I see a question about, did you do about IB and AP? I think that, yeah, Kathleen, you can talk about like what you should do, and you're muted, Kathleen.
Yeah, I realized that. Okay. So, I was about to tell you that we can't actually see the wait.
The
So,
press on the
what was the question?
just talk about like IB and AP and like why you should pick IB over AP or vice versa.
Okay, so the main difference that most people say between AP and IB, okay, so for your first 2 years of high school, freshman and sophomore year, the only difference between your IB and your AP path will be that history or like social studies course. So your freshman year, if you're taking IB, you're going to be placed in human geography. And if you're in AP, you're not going to take that course. And then same thing with sophomore year, if you're going to be an IB. For us, we had to take APUSH, but it's my understanding that they're taking that requirement away. So that's one thing that you won't have to worry about. The real difference, you only start to take actual IB and AP courses during junior and senior year. Freshman and sophomore year is all pre-IB and pre-AP. So your junior and senior year, the difference between like IB and AP, one thing is like really the community. IB is a much smaller community than AP. You're gonna be having classes like with like the same people over and over again. And there's like the IBSO, which is the IB student organization. You get to form connections with a lot of people within the IB community, and a lot of people really value this. Another difference is IAs and the EE. So I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but for all IB like classes that you do, you need to have a certain amount of like points to get your IB diploma. And to do that, there are some things that you have to do. So one thing is for your IB classes, you have to submit these things called internal assessments, and they differ by class. And another thing you have to do is your extended essay, which you can choose to be about any subject. And you'll usually start that end of junior year, summer. Most people start at senior year. And one more thing that's different about IB is CAS, which is something that you have to do. It's a requirement of IB that you have to do to get your diploma. One more requirement is IB kids do have to take TOK, which is a half semester class that you take second semester junior year and first semester senior year. And TOK stands for Theory of Knowledge.
Okay, so the next question is, let me move this over. It's, if you don't do well in your freshman year, then will that affect your high school years? Erin, you want to answer that?
If you don't do well freshman year?
Yeah, will that affect your rest of the years of high school?
Well, I mean, if you're asking like GPA wise, it does go into your grade point average and counts towards your rank, but you do have the other 3 years to like pull it up. Because I know personally, I did my worst freshman year, but I was able to improve sophomore and junior year. So yeah.
Okay. The next one is, did you take intro to computer science class in middle school? And if yes, in what grade? Aman, you want to answer that?
So I've never actually heard of Intro to Computer Science.
I think
need
it's
to go
more
figure
referring
out.
to like a introductory comp sci class. Like, have you taken any one?
Um,
I think it's like a new class offered in middle school.
Right. But yeah, when we were in middle school, there was a class called Gateway. I'm sure it's still there. It's like a more computer engineering related class. And yeah, that's the closest thing to comp sci that was offered at that time. And most people took it in their 7th or 8th grade. I don't think you could take it in 6th grade. But if there's an introductory to comp sci class, that's definitely a good opportunity to start learning comp sci in middle school. 7th and 8th grade, I think that should be a good time to take it. So now the next question is, what extracurriculars are you doing now at Westwood? Satvik, you want to answer that?
Wait, what extracurriculars?
Yeah, or maybe we can rephrase it to like, what extracurriculars do you recommend doing at Westwood, comp sci related?
Okay, yeah. So computer science club, that's a pretty important club, I guess. Yeah, it's just all computer science related. Computer science UIL, independent projects like we talked about during the webinar, and then science fair and math competitions. So all the AMC and all that other stuff. So yeah.
Okay. So the next one is, what resources do you use to prep for SATs? So I think I can answer that. So I along with Khan Academy, which I'm sure that many of you have heard of, right? They administer like all their tests. That has some good resources, but along with that, I bought some prep books. For reading, I bought a book called by a lady named Erica Meltzer. I think it's critical reading or of some sort. And then for writing, I bought a book by College Panda that had a lot of exercises and writing exercises and lessons that they descriptively meant, like they taught. So it really helped a lot. And for math, if you guys know that College Board releases a book every year with like 8 practice tests. I use that all with math. The math part is really basic on the SAT. It's Algebra 1, and by the time you take it in junior year, you'll be well past learning Algebra 1. So it'll be really simple for you. The only thing you have to worry about is silly mistakes, which can be solve with practice, because most of the questions remain this, like the concepts remain, the concepts that are tested remain the same. It's just that the questions differ a little bit, whether in wording or numbers. But the concepts remain the same. So as long as you practice a lot with different questions, um, you should be fine. So the next one is, did any of you take Spanish or Latin as a language, or just took comp sci as a language? Whichever one of you want to answer that.
I can answer that. Yeah. So as an IB student, comp sci doesn't actually count as your language. So you do have to take Spanish or one of the other languages. I don't believe Latin counts for IB students either. However, if you are an AP student, you can take computer science as your language. So it really just depends on which path you're going.
Okay. I think there's one in the chat. For AP, we need to know about physics and statistics and calculus, but for IB, what do we need to know? The first slide deck we saw. Kathleen, you want to answer that?
So the first slide deck that we showed about the difference between the AP courses and the IB courses, you don't actually need to take any of those courses to take comp sci at Westwood. The only course that you would have to take are all the prerequisites. So like to take comp sci 3, you need to have taken comp sci 2. And then for all of them, you have to have taken algebra 1. The reason why we put up those AP and IB courses were just to show some of the courses that are offered at Westwood that can help you in the future in comp sci. So if you're interested in pursuing a career in comp sci, it's good to know things like physics, statistics, and calculus. Some colleges will require you to, because I know like USC requires you to have a calculus credit in high school for you to be able to apply to their comp sci program.
Okay. Next one is, are the internal assessments hard? So yeah, whichever one of you want to comfortable with that. Okay, I guess I can answer that. So the IAs depend on, so obviously they're more in depth into what you're learning in class, right? For example, for chemistry, if you learn a set of topics, right, your IA should comprise of an in-depth exploration of one of those topics. Regarding it being hard, it's not hard. It's just that it takes a lot of time, so you have to be dedicated to doing it. It all comes down to hard work. But regarding your teachers are a really good resource. They help you a lot with the structure, like how to get set up and all. So in the end, I don't think it's hard. It's just that it's a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time. You're given a lot of time to do it. So as long as you manage your time properly, it shouldn't be that much of a burden. So the next one is, how much math do you recommend to take in high school for college admission towards comp sci? I answer that, Aaron.
How much math to take in high school? So I think it's best to take like through calculus, to take a few classes up to like calculus, because I think some schools probably require you to have taken calculus, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. It's always good because a lot of comp sci is the foundations depend on like math, right? So it's really good to at least do up to calculus A, B, or BC, so that you can show college that you're proficient enough in math and you're ready for any complexity in comp sci that their school teaches. So the next one is, are you all doing AP or IB? What is the preferred path for comp sci students? Satvik, you want to answer that?
So I personally think that there's no personal, like there's no like both of them are pretty much the same, right? Because for AP and IB, you take the same classes for your junior and senior year, or for comp sci 3 or SL and HL. So they're the same for both AP and IB. So I don't think it matters for the computer science courses, at least.
Yeah, just to add on to that, before the stigma used to be that IB used to be really history oriented, learning about the world, economics, that kind of thing. So if you wanted to go into either history or like social sciences or business, you would do IB, and then AP would be the more engineering route, the comp sci route. But the thing is that, even we're not sure at this point what the difference is, because IB has been dropping a lot of history requirements. For example, European history is not a requirement anymore, or you're not required to take it in order to graduate with an IB diploma. Like Kathleen said, APUSH is now an optional thing. Before you were not allowed to skip it, but now they're allowing you to take an ACC course to skip APUSH at school. So the line between AP and IB is becoming thinner and thinner. So at this point, for comp sci, either one should be fine. So how does the math system work for IB? Aman, you want to answer that?
Yeah, I can take that one. So right now with math at IB, what they're trying to do is they're creating a new set of math courses called the analysis math courses. And what they're doing is they're combining statistics and calculus into those courses. So typically, the way that students have always done it is first they would take their up to Algebra 2, then they would take pre-cal, and then from there, statistics and calculus would be two separate courses that you would take at different years, or you could take them the same year, but they would be two separate courses. Now with the analysis courses, they're trying to incorporate them together. So you spend half a semester learning calculus and half a semester learning statistics. However, it is my understanding that they are allowing IB students as of now to still follow the AP pathway. So as an IB student, you can still take AP courses. You just have to work out when you would write your IA with the IB coordinator or your counselor.
Okay. Based on one's personality and ability to slog, what is your recommendation for APVIB? I'm not really sure what slog means. Maybe if you could retype your question, whoever wrote that, that'd be great. So, so the next one, actually, we missed it, but do you do any sports, and should you do sports? Satvik, you want to answer that?
Yeah, so in freshman year, I did tennis, but I honestly would not recommend doing a sport unless you're really interested in it or you're really good at it. Like if you think you can make the varsity team, then yeah, go ahead and do it. But other than that, like college apps wise, I mean, unless you think it's fun, I guess. But college apps wise, I don't think it'll really help. Yeah, unless you're varsity.
Okay.
Can I just add on to that?
Yeah, for sure.
So like if you like this sport, then you should do it. But one thing that you should keep in mind, like we're not trying to discourage you from taking sports or say that you should only take courses in college that look good, or in high school that will look good on your college app. If you're really interested in like basketball or football, even if you don't think you're good, like by all means go do it just for fun. Like you shouldn't only be focusing on academics, but just know that all sports are a really big time commitment. Not only the practices like before and after school, most of sports are double blocked, meaning that there are some exceptions, but most sports are double blocked, meaning that you need to take it every day. So know that it's going to take 2 spots in your schedule. And for like competitions, games, tournaments, stuff like that, you'll have to miss a lot of school. So just keep all those things in mind when you're thinking about whether you really want to do the sport or not.
Okay. So next one is, can IB students use world language credit like Mandarin or other languages that are taken in middle school?
I can do that one. So I actually I didn't use Spanish, so I tested out of Mandarin, and I actually tested out of all the levels taking the Apple test. I think that's what it's called. But for IB, I still had to take the class this past year since I was going to SL it, which is like taking it for 1 year. And so I still had to take the class and then take the exam. But you don't have to take you can test out of the prerequisites. So I didn't have to take Chinese 1, 2, or 3. So I just went to the SL course.
Okay, thank you. So the next one is, if we have to study for tests, do you recommend us to go to teachers during flex time, or is there tutoring? Um, I can answer this one. So, I personally, for some subjects, I did both. For flex, I would flex into the teacher's classroom and ask her questions. But the benefit of tutoring is that most people rely on flex, so most people don't go in early in the morning for tutoring. So if you go in for tutoring, you have more one-on-one time with the teacher. And that being said, you can get more of your questions asked. And along with flex, that since it's the middle of the day, the teacher might be in some other work. She might be having a meeting. Sometimes it's not even flex at all. So I would recommend going for tutoring in the morning before a test. But flex is also a really good option. I mean, that's why it was made, right? For you to be able to ask any questions to your teachers or finish any homework. So yeah. Um, is AP harder than IB? Um, any of you want to answer that? Or I guess Kathleen, you want to answer?
Yeah, I can
What?
answer that. So I wouldn't necessarily say one is harder than the other. I would there I would say some courses in AP are harder than some courses in IB, and likewise some IB courses are harder than some AP courses. A lot of the courses are mixed. Like if you're interested in computer science, AP computer science only lasts for the first 2 years, and then after that IB there's no AP anymore, and then it's just IB. But I wouldn't say one is necessarily harder than the other. Just make your best decisions based on, I would say, like ask other people that have done AP and IB. So like if you want to ask us, or maybe if you know people like upperclassmen, or you have friends that are older, just ask them about their experiences, because I don't think you can definitively say AP is harder or IB is harder. There are some difficult components to both of them that the other doesn't have.
Okay. So Vic, since you're an AP, do you want to add on to that, your perspective?
I guess I would agree with Kathleen. It's um, they're pretty much the same. I guess like difficulty wise, they each have their own aspects. Um, yeah.
Okay. Um, so wait, what are other coding courses? So, oh, there's one before that. I'll answer that after. So what are other coding courses? So I'm assuming this is referring to outside of school. Um, if you go to Coursera.org, many colleges, and since it's the COVID time right now, many colleges are offering for free different courses that they would usually charge for. Um, yeah, and also I believe some companies like Google also offer certification exams on Coursera.org. It's really a good website. Along with Coursera, there's a website called Udemy.com. Even though these courses are priced, they're still some of them are most of them actually, I would say, are very good. They're taught by different tutors around the world, different industry, different people in the industry. So unlike school, if you have a comp sci teacher who's just been teaching students, right, in this more around in the student environment, these people on Udemy and Coursera are these people on Udemy, sorry, are people in the industry who have a comp sci related job that are teaching these courses. Okay, so the next one is, how is GPA calculated for Westwood classes? Is it based on all quiz scores and homework? This is a quick answer, but GPA is calculated. So most of your courses will be weighted. When you're deciding courses, your counselor will tell you which ones are on level and which ones are pre-AP. It usually says in the name of the course actually when you're signing up, but these courses are weighted on a 6.0 scale. So whatever grade you get, all your pre-AP classes will be averaged out, and your GPA is basically equal to your average. It's just a little bit different. So like, for example, if you have a 98 average, right, that's equal to a 5.8 GPA. You just replace the 9 with a 5, and I guess put a decimal in the middle. But yeah, so that's how you count. It's basically representative of your average. And then on-level courses, you lose 10 points. So for example, if I have 100 in an on-level class, that's calculated as a 90 for a pre-AP class. And then that 90 is factored into your average. So that's one downside of being an on-level class, is that you lose 10 points. But the thing is that one reason that why people take on-level classes is because, for example, if you were to take a pre-AP class and get an 85 in that class, versus if you took an on-level class and you were to get 100, the 100 would be transferred out to a 90, but a 90 is still greater than an 85 that you would get in a normal course. So your GPA will still be going up. So that's why some people, if they're really bad at one subject, they would take an on-level course in that. But otherwise, we would recommend pre-AP if you can. So Aaron, this one is for you. Can you please explain again how you were able to skip the language environment in IB for the language requirement in IB for Chinese?
Okay, so I wasn't able to skip the requirement, but I was able to skip the classes before. Before coming into high school, I took a test to test out of the Chinese courses, and so I was able to test out all of the Chinese, like 1, 2, 3, 4. And so, whereas other students who didn't test out of them would have to take Chinese like 1 or 2 in freshman year and then build up, and then for junior year we'd be in the same class and take Chinese 4. I was able to skip the first 2 years of Chinese for freshman year and junior year, but I had to take the class in freshman year and sophomore year. But I had to take the class in junior year because I had to take for the requirement for IB. So I had to take the exam for IB for Chinese. So I had to take the course junior year. But I was able to skip not take Chinese the years before. So I was able to open spots to take other courses. If that makes sense.
Okay. So what languages does ComSci use? If you want to answer that. Like in school, I think. ComSci courses in school.
I guess, so in school we learn, sometimes depending on your teacher, in ComSci principles, you'll learn Java and a little bit of Python. Then AP ComSci A, you learn Java for the entire year, and then ComSci 3 or IBSL, you learn assembly. You still stay with a bit of Java, and I think that's it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then in the 4th year of ComSci, you do an independent project, and I think that's also in Java. So it's mostly just Java from the 2nd year to 4th year, and then 1st year you might get some exposure to Python. Yeah. So next one is, if you completed courses in Coursera, Udemy, can you put those courses on your application? Yeah, of course you can. After you finish a course, you can you get a certificate, and I mean, it doesn't harm you at all to put that certificate under like certifications or anything else like that. I mean, that's definitely not going to do nothing but help you. So of course you can put those.
So can I add on to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So some colleges actually don't accept those. If your college has an app, like a portion, because when you're applying for colleges, you'll send them your official transcript, which are all the courses you took in high school. So those courses outside of high school and those certifications will not be reflected on that transcript. However, many applications allow you to upload an extended resume, and that's where you want to put those certifications. Like on your extended resume, have a section for like certifications, abilities, stuff like that. And then that's where you want to put those. But unfortunately, not every college allows you to upload a resume. So just look around and see which ones will let you include those certifications. And that can be another deciding factor in where you want to apply.
Okay, yeah, for sure. So next one is, what's a good GPA? I think that if you're, so every year when ranks come out, the office that gives you the ranks have like a cutoff for like the GPA for like top 10, like 25% and so on, the quartiles. I would say for top 10%, I think you would need a 5.6. So that's a 96 average or higher. And then for top 6%, I would assume that it's a 97% or higher. Do any of you have any more information on this?
So our freshman year, the cutoff for top 10%, the last person who was in our top 10%, we had a strange situation. We had 4 people tied for that last place, but they posted the cutoff number and it was 5.525 for top 10%. So just and that sounds like lower than what Satvik said, but keep in mind that freshman year is when everyone gets their lowest GPAs pretty much. Like I know I got my lowest during freshman year. Erin said she got her lowest during freshman year. So it's because it's a rough transition between middle school and high school. So that just if you're going into your freshman year, aim for like above that number, and that should get you into top 10%. And then like about a 5.63, I think, was where our top 6% cutoff was. But that number has been rising every year.
Yeah. Yeah. The benefit of being top 6%, if you guys don't already know, is you're auto admit to UT. So yeah. And you guys can also do the questions, the panelists, in the Q&A section. But is this the same course as what was offered in middle school as Comp Sci 1? I'm assuming you're talking about Comp Sci Principles, which is offered in freshman year. So Comp Sci 1 and Comp Sci Principles are different courses. Like I said before, Comp Sci Principles is more focused on computer engineering and a mix of computer engineering and computer science, whereas Computer Science 1 is more focused on just like coding. So the next one is, I'm really bad at history. Do you think I'll do well in A push? Aman, since you're in A push, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I can take this one. So at Westwood, I personally believe that the A-push teachers at Westwood are really, really good. Even if you're bad at history, the idea of just being able to make an argument out of facts that you know is really all the course is. So I assume your question is asking about the difference between IB push and A push. They really haven't told us much about that. We just know that IB push will be more focused towards the writing part, whereas A push is a good mix of writing and multiple choice questions. So when you ask, like, if you're bad at history, do you think you'll do well? It's just about how much effort you put into the course and what you can get out of it, essentially.
Okay. And did any of you take debate classes? Aman, since you're still in debate, you want to again answer that? Talk about the brief overview of debate.
Yeah, I'm a debater. So debate, I believe, is like one of the best courses offered at Westwood. Of course, I'm a little bit biased, but I think the communication skills you get out of it, as well as just the idea of how to make an argument. I think actually debate is one of the reasons why I was able to do so well in A-push. Just knowing how to make an argument out of some things that you have are super, super important. Actually, we just found out today that the debate coach is actually leaving Westwood. So we don't know who our debate coach is going to be next year. But I'm sure that debate is still going to be like a very good course, and I think you should definitely take it. If you have any more like specific questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah, and to add on, I can attest to that fact. I mean, I did debate, even though I didn't do debate junior year, I still saw that my communication skills and presentation skills immensely improved. So it's definitely a good course to take in 9th grade if you're still unsure of what to take. And then, if you like it in 9th grade, right, you're exposed to all different types of debate, then, you can definitely continue on. So, Aman, this is for you specifically. Did you take theatrical arts in middle school, and did it help in debate? And what courses would you recommend in middle school for students interested in debate?
So I don't think that theater will have an impact on how you do in debate. It may say something if you're interested in theater. It may indicate that you have a personality that would be fitted for debate, and you can add flair or drama to arguments. There's also different events in debate. So if you're very interested in theater, there are independent speech events, like original oratory and things like that. So those are also included under the debate umbrella at Westwood. And that's what I would say you were leaning towards if you were interested in theater. In middle school, I don't think that there is a lot of things that can help you with high school debate other than competing in middle school debate leagues. So there is a very big one. And just looking up like middle school debate, you can find information about it. In terms of courses, I don't believe, unless your school has either A, a debate club, or B, a debate course, I don't think there's any specific course that would really help.
Okay. So guys, that will be our final question for today. Yeah, that will be our final question for today. So I will go ahead and send in the chat our our link to our website. We're actually all part of Big Brain Tutoring, which is a free tutoring service that we started back in March when school first closed, right? So I'll go ahead and send the link to our website and also our email if you guys have any questions. Yeah, so both those should be in the chat. We will go ahead and post this webinar on YouTube along, and then we will email all of you the YouTube link along with the PowerPoints that you guys can look at it on your own time. So yeah, that should be it for today, and thank you all for coming.